Sorry, we're just a minute behind here. We're waiting for one more candidate. Oh, actually, oh, hi, you showed up too. We might have two more.
Oh, wow.
Okay, great.
A full house tonight, right? Have a basketball team going on, basically.
Yeah, last week was a little slim. Great,
right.
great. But,
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll hope if they're watching, we're going to start. But please feel free to go ahead and still sign in, and we'll bring you in. So here we go. This is a clip of Stefania Marizzi.
With this case, we are at crossroads. Let me tell you, I come from a country which basically invented fascism. And the first thing that Mussolini did was to destroy press freedom. One of the very first thing he did was to destroy press freedom and to decide who was a legitimate journalist. According to the regime, they were in charge of deciding who was a legitimate journalist doing legitimate journalism. That's why I was terrified when I heard the United States calling Julian Assange not a journalist. You cannot allow the state authorities to decide who is a legitimate journalist. You absolutely have to fight this. You absolutely have to fight against this because unless we can reveal war crimes, what should we do? I mean, journalism is about revealing state criminality at the highest level. Democracy is about the possibility for the ordinary people to know state crimes. So that's why we absolutely have to win this case, because if we lose this case, our society will go fully, openly authoritarian. This is what is at stake. It is the last call for Julian, and it is the last call for us.
I thought that was really powerful from Stefania. So before we get started, I just want to do a little update and show everyone that unless it just happened in the last few minutes, we don't have any new signers.
Right.
So these are our current members of Congress that have signed on to House Resolution 934. And we want to still encourage everyone, please keep calling. Call the people that signed the McGovern letter and still haven't signed this. That includes AOC, Rep. Rosendale, Rand Paul, several. And what we're doing here is showing that there are candidates running for office that will do better than some that are in office and won't sign on. So we have, let's see, we've got three great candidates here tonight. We have two more that I think might be popping in. Oh yes, I also wanted to add, Paula Ayasella from Assange Defense continues to kind of target as well, not just the signers of the McGovern letter, but also any congresspeople that are against the TikTok ban. And she's been kind of targeting them and calling their offices and trying to, kind of make that connection, but with, freedom of speech, freedom of information. So yeah, if you want to target those people. So with that, I think we will go ahead and Matt, I'll kick it over to you and you can ask everyone to introduce.
Sure. Thanks, Kelly, and thanks everyone for joining us. This is our 10th candidate, 10th candidate for Assange. So appreciate you all joining and appreciate everyone who watches and shares this. William, you were the first one on here, so you have the honor of introducing yourself first. So can you just, do exactly that? Introduce yourself, why you're running, and why you support Julian Assange.
Yeah, so first off, thank you for having me on here. Truly appreciate it. My name is William Dakota Compton. I'm 30 years old. I'm actually a music teacher here in Warren County, Kentucky, as well as a city commissioner for my small city of Plum Springs, like the color plum, Kentucky, not Palm Springs. You're not Palm Springs. And I decided to run for U.S. House because I teach at the same school I was a student at when I was in high school. And I speak with my students. I get to have them multiple years because I do teach music. And I get to build relationships with them. And every conversation that I have when students talk about the hardships they face, I kind of think back to when I was in their shoes, and a lot of the same issues they're facing, I faced as a student, or it's 10 times worse in many cases. And it just broke my heart seeing that these amazing students with so much talent, their families who work day in and day out, and they don't have a voice in Washington that's actually going to work to fix the problems that we're seeing to make their lives better. So ultimately, that was the reason why I jumped into this race, and why I'm still fighting to make sure that they have a voice who will better their lives. And when it comes to Julian Assange, something I tell my students all the time is, you've got to speak out about things when they're wrong. You've got to make sure that you let your voice be heard. And when I've heard about Julian Assange, him speaking out about these war crimes and him showing evidence backing them, and now them doing what they're doing to him, it blows my mind to think that someone who's calling out this corruption, this like I said earlier, war crimes, and showing the public what's really happening, and then they're harming this man. It's insane to me. So that's why I truly support him, because we need to be able to have that freedom to call out when our government does these atrocities across the world.
Right. Thanks, William. Yeah, and definitely want to get back to the topic of your students and how, this gets into their lives as well. I mean, I think we all understand we can draw a direct line from what's being done to Julian Assange to this idea of banning TikTok, right? But Vance, you're down in Arizona. Same questions for you, please.
I am down in Arizona. Born and raised in Tucson native. I told somebody last night, I said, the craziest people here in America are some of the people in Congress, and then some of the people who want to run for Congress. So I've been a political outsider for a long time, but I started my young career off in the military out of being a resident of Tucson, Arizona. And everything I was taught in the military that was bad, I was stationed in Germany early on, and everything that I was trained in and taught that was bad dealt with these steps that the Soviet Union took to go from basically freedom to socialism. I have witnessed over the last 40 years, each one of those steps being taken here in the United States. I've seen Congress where it's now I don't see the balance that's supposed to be there that you learn about in school. There's supposed to be a balanced government. I see issues that should be state issues that are being used as polarizing issues between the two parties in Washington. And I see the tail wagging the dog. However, I can only speculate as to those reasons. And until I get on the inside and experience what's really going on, can I properly maybe address some of the things that need to be addressed. What I see are congressmen and senators going into the Congress, in their first day, they're worried about maintaining their positions for the next election cycle instead of taking care of the issues. In fact, I saw somebody, and a big issue here is the southern border, believe it or not, here in Arizona. So the district that I'm running for is on the southern border, along with a friend of mine who's also running for House in the neighboring district, which is also on the southern border, because we need to handle these situations appropriately. And right now we're being polarized. The two people that are in office, one is a Republican and the other one's a Democrat in these two districts. They get together and they talk, but they don't say anything. They don't really propose the solutions because their effort is bamboozling the citizens and securing their link in Congress. So I decided to run as a libertarian, even though I'm a little bit right of center. I'm a moderate, common sense, common ground. That's my campaign philosophy. let's find the common ground, the 90% of things that 90% of Americans agree upon, and let's start not bowing down to the 10% that's trying to polarize the nation and our communities. And I see it racially here because of the border crisis, basically. So I decided to run and do something about it, get on the inside. And since I've been on the inside, I have been it's been ugly for me. And there's some problems in the even in the federal electoral process, because the states govern what happens. In Arizona, it is they really like to sue you on everything and contest your signatures and whole 9 yards. But it's been ugly, and right now they're trying to sue me off the ballot. I don't know how that is going to fare out. I'm going to try amongst all of their threats. I'm going to try to survive that and be on the ballot.
All right, Vince, we're going. I think we're going to get into that, because I think just as how we can tie in what's happening with Julian Assange to the realities of the future for Williams kids, we can talk about how ballot access, whether or not they allow people onto the ballot, it's a form of censorship. And it's a form of limiting discussion and limiting, controlling the narrative and ultimately denying people the choice of who they want to vote for. But I want to bring in Salim. Salim, you're joining us. Thank you for coming on. And yeah, same thing. Can you please introduce yourself and tell us why you are a candidate for Assange?
Can you hear me, guys?
Yes. Yeah.
All right, perfect. Trying to put it through the headset here. So yeah, I'm up in Michigan's 3rd congressional district. It's currently represented by Hillary Scholten in the Democratic Party. That's I'll be challenging her in the primary. I ran for state rep in 2022 in our state. That was my first exposure to politics. I'd consider myself, my background, entrepreneurship. I've owned some small business, real estate. Sorry.
You're okay.
Yeah, we got you. We got you back. It's all right.
Try this. But yeah, the reason I'm running, I just wanted to show people, I guess, how, even though I'm running as a Democrat, how the two parties are essentially, I mean, they're separated by a couple of culture war issues, but other than that, I mean, it's two large corporate parties that are trying to pin people against each other. I've seen with my candidate alone that I'll be challenging, I was trying to help her get reelected. But to me, with the Julian Assange stuff, I see it connected to the recent FISA 702 Act, where it's this constant surveillance state that our government is in right now. And that's stuff that I just don't support. I feel like respecting people's privacy, but then also pointing out corruption within our government and the surveillance and kind of police state that we're in right now, and mishaps with our government. So to me, with the Julian Assange stuff, I'm not an expert on the topic, I'll admit that, but to me, it seems like a government overreach, just like it has been with FISA 702, which obviously has been in the news recently and something that I've wanted to point out to a lot of people as well.
Right. Hey, thanks, Salim. And Kelly knows, like, that's my favorite thing when we start like talking about how this intertwines the First and the Fourth Amendments, how it really becomes inseparable, this idea of both censorship and surveillance, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and for people who aren't familiar with what Salim was talking about with FISA Section 702, that's the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act. Basically regulates how our government is able to conduct itself overseas in terms of monitoring foreign communications. The problem is that if you're an American citizen and you call somebody in England or in Zimbabwe or in Vietnam or wherever, under these rules, your First Amendment or your Fourth Amendment privacy protections do not apply. The U.S. government does not need a warrant to listen in on your conversations if it's with someone outside the United States. And, that is something that many of us view as incredibly unconstitutional. But it's something that our Congress, both Democrats and Republicans, continue to advance forward. And we just saw actually this past week or end of last week, there was an amendment. I think it's important for people to understand. There was an amendment that was going to be tacked onto this that would have required the government to get a warrant to listen to people's conversations. And it was 212 to 211 in the House of Representatives. And Speaker Johnson actually left his chair and voted, which, as people know, is unusual for a speaker to do, and cast a vote that tied that amendment 212, which meant the amendment was defeated. Right. So you see, and so you see how bipartisan this issue is of attacking both First and Fourth Amendment rights. But Kelly, I want to turn it back over to you, because I'll just keep going on about this.
Oh, no, that's great. I think, it's confusing. There's so much.
I get very upset.
Well, and I do want to bring up one point with that too is,
sure,
I point that out. I'm running as a Democrat, but I point that out to both sides of the aisle. Whether you were protesting a Republican or Democratic issue, the FBI is admitted to using that program or that section to violate and surveillance people. I think it was 278,000 times,
right,
that the FBI has admitted to. So regardless of political issues or stances, it's just a scary thing to think about.
Right. I mean, people say like it's 278,000 times the FBI, right, utilize that to perform warrantless surveillance on people.
That they've admitted to, at least.
They've admitted to, right? Exactly. So it's not like a couple times it happened. It was right. No, this is systemic. This is what they do. So, but okay, Kelly, before we go. Yeah.
No, I mean, I think that issue is just as important, the First and Fourth Amendments. I think we always end up back there. And it's important. It's shocking to me. I obviously we have 3 candidates this week, so I consider that a success. But and Shauna Rudd said something came up with her work, so she's going to come next week, I believe. But it's shocking to me when I'm reaching out to candidates. We know it's very polarized everyone's polarized, but these issues, it's hard to break through those biases and get people to understand, like the clip I played at the beginning with Stefania saying, we lose the freedom of the press. This is not good news, and it doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on. So, but I've gotten to, I want to share, without naming anyone, I have to share a couple of responses that I got. Because I think what's interesting is that I hear the same things over and over again too, depending on which side of the aisle you're on, although one of them kind of shocked me. So one thing I got back was that the Assange case in WikiLeaks is not about the environment, poverty, racial injustice, or fixing America. And so I've prepared some clips to sort of deal with those things. And then also, I see Julian as entertainment. And I can tell you it's important to preserve classified U.S. information. Violation of this confidentiality should be a punishable crime. And with that, I have to play a little clip here from, it's the same discussion that Stefania clip came from. And I encourage everyone, if you want to know more about all the ins and outs of the case, Consortium News is a great resource, and also Assange Defense on YouTube. That's where this recording was from. But this is Daniel Hale, who was released just a couple months ago, right? Mm-hmm. He's the drone whistleblower, if you don't know who he is. But he makes this excellent point that, whenever someone says this to me, violation of this confidentiality should be punished. This is the answer to that.
The key difference between Assange and every other Espionage Act case is that Julian Assange is a foreign national who has never held a security clearance. And one of the key ways that they secure convictions in these Espionage Act cases is that they simply go to the stack of non-disclosure agreements all clearance holders are forced to sign if they wish to keep a job. and they point to this and say, you signed here that you knew that it was wrong, that it was illegal to do what you did, and yet you did so anyways. They have no argument against Assange, because Assange, never having held a security clearance, never having only ever visited this country once, to my knowledge, could in no way have known that there would be any consequences or supposed theoretical harm to the United States should certain information be released to the public or certain information divulged to an authority not entitled to receive it.
So I think you have this push and pull where they want, like, now we've got this argument of whether or not he is entitled to First Amendment, rights. It's like they want to punish him and apply rules as if he's a U.S. citizen or, had security clearance and he broke this rule, but then he has no rights on the other side. So,
right. Vance, I see you shaking your head.
You want to jump in here, Vance?
Oh, yeah, I think the lens that these people look through is very myopic, and I don't think that we have to have a check and balance system. Number one, if something is going on that is violating the constitutionality of everything else going on, then it needs to be addressed, and there seems to be no mechanism to appropriately address that. And the people that are saying these things, they're pleading both sides of the coin. They're trying to apply U.S. rights to somebody who's not a U.S. citizen, doesn't hold a security clearance, those things. On the other hand, they want to make accusations that are on the other side. It's to me, it's just it's silly, and it almost short circuits my mind, the lack of common sense. I guess that's pretty much all I got to say about it. It's shocking to me.
Yeah, right. I mean, William, but this idea of, like, if you went to your students, you're like, okay, here's the deal. You don't get any rights, but we're going to hold you to all the laws. Like, what would they say?
Right. In the military, we call it responsibility and accountability. They go hand in hand. And,
yeah.
I think
my students are right about that. So
go ahead, William.
I said, my students, they would, you would not see the fuss. You've never seen a fuss until you have someone try and do something like that with students, because they know, pardon my language, but they can smell bullshit a mile away, and they're not afraid to call it out. And they would just riot if that happened in the classroom with them.
Right. I mean, just kind of basic common sense, right? Right, Kel?
Well, so you're a teacher, and I love having, you said you're 30, right? And I believe Shauna Rudd, who isn't going to make it this time, I know she's younger as well. And I know with the younger generation, they're concerned about some issues maybe more than some of us older people. But, like the environmental issue, like to say that, I thought that was interesting, that one response, that WikiLeaks, this has nothing to do with the environment, the military. And so I've got, I've got this clip. The late and great John Pilger, who was a regular on the show I used to work on with Randy Credico, Assange Countdown to Freedom, has 60 documentary films. But this one is from the coming war on China, and it's about Bikini Island.
This is Bikini, the rim of an ancient underwater volcano in the Marshall Islands. With its necklace of 23 islands, Bikini is a place of beauty and silence and menace. Look closely where the Emerald Lagoon suddenly falls into a vast black hole. This is the crater of one of the greatest man-made explosions, the hydrogen bomb they call Bravo. It vaporized an entire island and poisoned almost everything and everyone. The Marshall Islands lie in the vast Pacific Ocean between the United States and Asia. Captured from the Japanese in World War II, they've long been America's strategic secret, its stepping stone to Asia and China. Westerners might call this paradise.
Ingat tayo di ko alpe. Ega nang mananteri. Jangan kalang olip kay. Lang yan namin tanang anaya to kanan.
All that changed in 1946 when the United States took over the Marshall Islands as a trust territory, with an obligation to protect the health and well-being of the people. A nightmare began. The islands were turned into a laboratory for the testing of nuclear weapons and the people into guinea pigs.
And so one other clip, if you know who Abby Martin is, excellent journalist. This is from her, a clip from Earth's Greatest Enemy. I believe that's the name.
Where we're heading is extremely grim. So we have to brace ourselves for what's coming.
There are still many secrets. The water on the base was contaminated, hence all the dead babies. Oh, shit.
These toxic chemicals are in the blood of my people.
They have littered our land with bombs.
Fire in the hole!
We used to have a lot of animals. Just keep quiet. Do you hear a bird?
The United States military is the #1 polluter in the world.
I have not authorized this.
The military is untouchable.
Let me take a look at the picture that you take.
They consider themselves above the law.
They're filming us.
The military being the single largest consumer of fossil fuels on the planet, how can they be given a free pass?
The emissions from the military should be exempt. Do you agree with that?
I want to say thank you to our National Guard.
We must stop this violent death machine if we want to survive on this earth.
The ship.
So, I mean, to say that WikiLeaks doesn't have any, in this case, doesn't have anything to do with the environment. I mean, we look at, you have to give me 1 second. I'm going to pull up a page here. I found WikiLeaks, some documents about the Marshall Islands. Give me 1 second. Actually, Matt, maybe you can speak on some of that as a veteran.
I mean, just I think it's you don't have to even just keep it confined to the environment, but the danger of this, where the government gets to say, we feel that this is our secret, that we need to protect we need to protect the American people from the knowledge of this. It can be applied to anything, right? So it can not just be applied to the environment, but it can be applied to the economy. It can be applied to public health, right? It's too dangerous for you all to know about this. It might cause a panic or whatever. So yeah, your thoughts on this, guys, and this idea of whether or not what Julian Assange is being persecuted and prosecuted for, is it narrow, or is it, does this come across as a more broader concern for you all? And now Kelly's got this thing.
Yeah, well, I can come back to, well, actually, here, I'll show you. Okay, so this is a document about the Republic of the Marshall Islands, changed circumstances, petition to Congress. But what interested me over here is it says that this document was obtained by WikiLeaks from the U.S. Congressional Research Service. The CRS is a think tank with a staff around 700. And basically, okay, the report was obtained by WikiLeaks staff from CRS computers accessible only from congressional offices. So individual, wait, where did this go? Sorry. The public doesn't just have easy access to this information. And so, as you were just saying, Matt, like this sort of like protecting us from this information. But I think, WikiLeaks has uncovered all kinds of things. There was another one here. Let me find it. It was about in Iraq. Okay, sorry, a little wonky. Give me just a sec. Okay. And then, okay, this is about, troops. Let's see. Can you guys see that? Wait, let me pull it in. Here we go. Yeah. So, U.S. Air Force exposes troops, Iraqis to cancer agents. I mean, we've heard things, the burn pits, all that kind of stuff. I mean, Matt, you would know again better than
I have a cousin of mine who was in the Marine Corps. He was stationed at Camp Lejeune, and he died from cancer, like so many others are doing. And people aren't familiar with that Camp Lejeune water issue. It went on for decades, where the water was poisoned, it was toxic, it was contaminated. And the Marine Corps and the government knew it, and they denied it. And now, of course, it's finally understood. But that doesn't give my cousin Gary and his family his life back, kind of thing. So, but yeah, back to this idea, guys, of like, obviously, how we feel. It's not a narrow issue here, but your thoughts on this. When you talk about this, when you think about this, are you thinking narrowly or broadly, or how do you feel about this?
I have a question that's been burning me up here a little bit. Since this is the first time talking to you guys, what do you think the motivation is behind the TikTok ban? I'm unclear as to the motivation. So I have some ideas, but yeah, if you could inform me as what you think the motivation is.
Yeah, I'm going to let William go because I saw his nonverbals, and
so
I think he's got a thought or two on this.
So what they're telling us is that they think it's a security concern with China stealing data from Americans and information. But what I think the real reason is because we are seeing the younger generation, especially, using TikTok as a way to get information to each other in ways that they can understand, and using it to just make sure they're more knowledgeable about things that they haven't asked. And I think, in my brain, I think they're afraid of that the younger generation having a voice and using their voice more than they have before. And I think that's what's motivating them to try and ban TikTok.
How is that different than Facebook or any other social media?
No, and that's exactly been a big sticking point that a lot of people have talked about, that a lot of other social medias, they have information going to China as well, various different ways, but they're hitting TikTok mainly because we're seeing younger generation using it to get these ideas out and express their voices. And honestly, the ones in power are afraid of new people taking over.
Well, the reason I ask, and I don't mention this publicly very much, but every single day I talk to China. Every single day I talk to people who are related to military individuals in China. I also talk to other places in Asia, like the Philippines and Singapore. But my wife is Chinese. So I can say from a security, and I've worked in the data industry since I was in the military. That wasn't my job in the military, but it became a job, and I consulted. I did a lot of government contracts, and I can tell you, TikTok is probably the least of your concerns. And I'm not exactly sure why TikTok was singled out. I'm not exactly sure why people on the floor wanted to show their ignorance in the questioning of CEO. That's another thing I'm just kind of dumbfounded on, and I can't probably figure that out until I'm on the inside somewhere, because there are a lot of other things. There's so many other things. I'm not saying that they're real nefarious, but I'm saying there are things that are equal to TikTok that are utilized in this country every day by Chinese nationals, in that are Chinese controlled companies, all the way down from our chip production. So every chip production of every phone, every device that you have is influenced and affected. So right. TikTok is nothing but Lincoln Logs or candy. It's to me, and I don't know the motivation. If you could fill me in more.
I think
broadly it does affect all these WikiLeaks and everything else. It affects. They're singling out items that seem to be red herrings to me. I may be wrong.
No,
I think William hit the nail on the head. I mean, I think part of it is, I mean, they can easily play on the fear of China with the right. But I think, you know, do you guys remember how, gosh, I think it was shortly after Biden was elected, they invited a bunch of TikTok influencers to the White House because they wanted to influence the influencers. That's how I read that. And if they can't control them, then they can't have free reign. They don't want them to. So I think, wasn't there something about, I don't know all the details, but something about if TikTok could be sold to someone else, an American company, I believe it was, then it would be okay. And I read that as then we can do like we did with Facebook and Twitter, and we can contact you and tell you what we want you to take down.
Yeah.
So that's my read on that. And I don't think they like the younger people. I mean, Gaza alone, that issue. I mean, people are getting, you know, direct information. I think it's just all about control. And when they say it's a national security risk, I think what they mean is it's going to become a problem with the dissidents in this country. So that's how I see it.
I think there's also the aspect of it's a very profitable business and it's not American. It's eaten into the profits of the American tech companies. And so the American tech companies are very upset with that. There's also, I think, to the point that you all are just getting at as well, that it's not an American company. It's not penetrated by the American intelligence and security services. Right. So they don't have the NSA and the FBI and the CIA don't have their ways into TikTok like they do into Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and whatever else. And the other thing, too, if you look at the revolving door, the folks who all have left the NSA, the CIA, the FBI, the top levels of Facebook and Twitter and American social media companies are dominated by American intelligence and security service officers or former officers, right? So then you have this relationship, just like you have, like, say, with the Washington Post and the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times and the American government, right? It's a symbiotic relationship. They are the elites in the empire, right? And so TikTok is an outlier. But the main thing, I agree with you all, absolutely. It's, as William said, it's about the information and knowledge, and they can't control it. I guess maybe the TikTok algorithm is different in such a way. It's not, you know, you don't have former FBI and CIA people working in their offices to make sure the narrative is correct. You know, I mean, so, but it is. This is like we said earlier, right? You can see that straight line, right? Where, okay, in 2010, we got to shut this Assange guy down. And now it's in 2024. We got to shut TikTok down.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, and that, again, this is so hard to reach people, particularly, I mean, I know you're running as a Democrat, William, but I mean, I have the hardest time reaching Democrats on these issues, you know? So I just hope, you know, by when I read the responses I get, my goal is really, I'm hoping to just break through to some people, you know, and if we keep talking about this, we get more people just having discussions, then maybe we can break through that. But so we have, let's see, Salil had to leave, but we also have an activist, Daniel DeCeter is going to be on in about 5 minutes.
Oh, great.
So yeah, I think I will save some of my other rebuttals to the other, the responses I got. Although I will tell you this one part. One guy actually said to me, I said, well, so you would say if China said, hand us one of your journalists, you know, let's say a Chinese, you know, military person leaked something to an American journalist, that you would say, yes, we should just send them over if China says we're going to extradite. And he says, yes. And I was like, okay, I don't know. I believe that. But, you know, they're just, it's this double standard again, over and over again, that Assange should be punished for what he did and punished as if he had held security clearance. You You know what? And on that note, I will play this Kiriakou clip from, he was on Fault Lines with Jamal Thomas recently, and Daniel mentioned it to me. So I know he's going to be on in just a couple minutes. And I wanted to play this because, you know, if you remember a couple, two weeks ago, I was talking about the jurisdiction and, you know, why wouldn't Assange try to file, you know, dismissal based on jurisdiction? And I think part of this sort of shows what Assange does not want to just walk and have other journalists be at risk for prosecution. You know, if he could get out of it easily by filing for dismissal on jurisdiction or take a plea, he's not interested in that, and that's what Kiriakou explained here. So
he was offered a deal about 3 months ago.
Yeah.
Take a guilty plea to an espionage charge. We'll open the doors of the prison. You can just walk right out. And he said, not just no, but hell no.
Yeah.
That he will not be responsible for the future prosecution of an American journalist because he set a precedent by taking a guilty plea to an espionage charge.
Right.
Very, very tough.
Wow.
Very strong.
I mean, it just, can you imagine being able to have the strength at this point, all these years later, to do that?
Kelly, when you're talking about the responses, it made me want to ask these guys, when you're out campaigning, and I know Julian doesn't come up very much on a campaign trail, and many people don't know anything about it, but with this larger issue of, say, as we were talking earlier, First and Fourth Amendment rights, what's been, if you off the just top of your head, some of the more ludicrous things you've heard in terms of the defense of the government going after our First and Fourth Amendment rights?
I'll go first, and before I answer this question, I do want to let you all know that I do have to leave here in a moment to get ready for my school day tomorrow. But I haven't really heard very insane arguments. I've just heard many people here in the second district, they're seeing what's going on and they're just worried about it. They might not know the specifics of the Julian Assange case, but they're seeing, of course, the TikTok bans and everything, and they're terrified that they're seeing the First and Fourth Amendment rights being eroded away. And I've had many Democrat and Republican here who expressed fear in that. So it's been very eye-opening to see. Again, like you all said, it's a bipartisan issue that everyone faces, and here in the second district, we see that.
Great. Thanks for turning around my negative question into something somewhat optimistic there, or positive. And William, before you go, how can the folks watching follow you and support you?
Yeah, all of my social media is at Compton, the number 4 KY 2024. Facebook, I'm on all the social medias: TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, everything. Trying to reach all of the audiences. My website is just williamcompton.com. Just go there, shoot me a message on there, and I can stay in touch, and I will promise you I'll get back sooner than many elected officials do in our country.
Okay. Well, hey, good luck to you. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much, William.
And Van, so yeah, you can either go the negative route like me, or you could say something positive.
Oh, first positive thing I wanted to say was, like William, it's nice to see younger. I'm 60. I just turned 60 on Monday.
Oh, happy birthday!
Well, thank you.
I was going to save this for the end, but since it's brought up, today is Kelly's birthday. So
well, thank you, man.
Happy birthday to Kelly. I wasn't say that at the end, but yeah.
Great. So I like to see these younger people get on board and start thinking about what's going on, because on the campaign trail, I hear a lot of crazy things. We talk about the First Amendment, the Fourth Amendment. That's usually not my biggest focus, but we talk about it a lot, and people will say that they're concerned with the rights that they're losing, their freedom of speech. But then when they express, for example, is a silly one, why they don't like Donald Trump, it's because, he made fun of a handicapped person, or he said something several years ago, which then kind of negates the idea of freedom of expression, or something that you said, 15 years ago, departing a bus, you're now being bashed for, whether you love him or hate him. It's just kind of an interesting conversation that they always go back to nailing down. And when we talk about China and those kinds of things, we hold this double standard. And I see this double standard on very simplistic ideas. And so, and it depends on who I'm talking to as to, and there are trends between the parties, but, and the way that then they express that double standard, it just seems to come up over and over and over again, depending on what we're talking about, where they want the discussion isn't about the balance. It isn't about the common ground. It isn't about the things that all of us are looking for. It's about issues that people campaign on to get people fired up on, that will solidify their position in that party, right? Rather than being open-minded about how we really address the issues and what the compromises are going to be. To me, adulthood has always been about compromise. So I don't see some people compromising in their ideas, and a lot of times it is around something somebody said or how they're expressing.
Well, the media focuses, I mean, that's the job of the media, right? To focus on those little things and just keep people polarized. But Daniel, good to see you again. And did you see the Kiriakou clip right before you came on?
I did. Sorry, I didn't know I'd jump right in, but clicking the link. But yeah, no, that was incredible. I'm glad you played that, because I had just seen that on Fault Lines, and yeah, it's incredible. After all this, I mean, just heard about the plea deal, and I just want him to be free so badly. I wouldn't blame him for taking something like that. But yeah, just like you said, the amount of strength he has and just integrity and principles. I mean, you just don't see that.
We have a latecomer.
Oh, hey.
Hi, Gabriel. Nice to see you.
I am so sorry. I had a meeting. I just got out of it.
That's okay.
It's important for me to join, even if it's for a minute.
Of course. Do you want to introduce yourself? Where you're
Absolutely.
running?
I'm hungry, so bear with me as I eat and speak. My name
Campaigning.
My name is Gabriel Ganjinimod, and I'm originally from Cameroon in West Africa, and I came here about 24 years ago, and been through a lot. Started cleaning up dishes in a seafood restaurant, and was able to save money. Became a computer systems engineer. With the help of student loans, I was able to go to law school. Came out, started some businesses, have a family, and today I'm running for Congress as a first-timer and not part of the establishment folks out there. So it was nice to be here with me, and thank you so much for inviting me.
Yes, I'm so glad you came. Do you want to say anything about why you support Assange? And maybe, since it's kind of near the top of the hour, maybe you might want to return another time when we can give you, some more time. But please, I'll give you the floor to say whatever you like about the Assange case.
Well, it's all about respecting freedom of speech, right? We should not be. The government should understand that we're a free country. In 2024, people should be able to speak up when we get wiretapped or when the secrets the government is keeping, away from us. And we should be able to speak freely and share information that we know the citizens of the country needs to hear. And what they're doing to him means that if I don't like what the government is doing to its citizens, be it wiretapping or keeping secrets that they're not supposed to keep, I can't speak out. And so we want that they should leave him alone, and also give people the chance to, say what they want to say, when they want to say it, and how they want to say it, and not feel threatened or being worried about going to jail.
Yeah, wow. And the question Matt always asks, Matt, how do you talk to the people?
Right. How do you talk to folks about this when you're on the campaign trail? And the same thing, we're at the top of the hour, but yeah. So I mean, when you're out talking to voters, how do you address this? Like, how do you make the connections? And
well, there's a lot of people out there who are eager and want to be free when they speak, without being worried about somebody knocking on their door, or worried about the fact that they could be silenced. There's a lot of them out there, and when they see a candidate like myself who is not part of the establishment, they resonate with me because they realize that there's somebody who actually care about their interests, not the interests of a special interest group or a lobbyist or some kind of some big corporation that's been that's bought them over. So the voters, they resonate with my message. They realize I'm not part of the establishment. They realize I'm real. I speak the truth, and I say certain things that they do not want to. They don't. Most candidates or candidates in office can't say because they already bought over. If you remember, most administrations, it took a very long time for them to say yes, we're wiretapping, or we're listening to people's phone conversation and reading their emails and things like that. You had to push them before they would say, or somebody had to leak or call the media up to before they would say yes. Most presidents, including Bush, Obama, all of them, they never said yes, we're wiretapping until somebody leaked it out. And most ordinary Americans don't like that. The fact that the government is either listening to the phone conversations or reading their emails or eavesdropping on what they're saying. Most ordinary folks don't like it. And not every candidate would come out and say that publicly or privately, because they're all sold. They're all bought. They've been bought, by the government or some lobbyist or some big corporation. So our regular voters, the ordinary Joe on the street, they understand all of this. They know all these things, and they want to be part of our democratic process. And being part of our democratic process means that you have to be able to speak up when you can, without being worried that someday you're going to end up in some foreign embassy and can't come back to your own country, or worried about the fact that if you come back, you're going to end up in jail or you're going to spend the rest of your life in jail. Many Americans want to be free in every aspect of life.
Yeah.
So, and you would know this until you're a real candidate who goes out and knock on doors, not send TV ads, because you can't speak back to a TV ad. But when you go out and speak to these ordinary janitors and truck drivers and students and teachers, veterans, vets who fought for and bled for, and some of them died for this country, holding signs on street corners saying, "Oh, I don't have a place to stay or food to eat today." Talk to these people. Go down the street and talk to people who earn minimum wage. Go down the street and talk to people who work 16-hour shifts, not because they really want to, but because they have to. Go talk to them, and they will tell you, stay off our back. Don't listen to our phone conversations. Increase our minimum wage. I don't want to work 16 hours or 3 days in a row. Talk to these people. They will tell you that we are the government. You are not the government. You're not the one who's supposed to tell us what to do. We have to tell you what to do and what not to do. Go talk to them. But
very well said, Gabriel.
TV ads and look, stop me because I can go on and on and on with this.
I'm glad you showed up. That's great. So you find people talk to you. That's great. Well, you reminded me, wasn't it Clapper that just lied under oath?
Yes. James Clapper. They all lie on the oath.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
They all lie on the oath. I just gave you an example of Bush when right after 9/11, when they wiretapped conversations. Look, my background is IT. I know a little bit of mainframe. I know a little bit of telecommunications. When they turned that wire right there in Fort Meade, right down here in Fort Meade, not too far away from me, and they instructed AT&T and Verizon and all them, these telecommunication companies, to rewire their communication systems to listen to not just international conversation, but listen to all our conversations. They know it. Bush said, no, we're not doing it. And when it got leaked, it turns out that's what they were doing all along. Barack Obama came and did the same thing until it got leaked.
Right.
And now, are you surprised that Assange is in this situation?
Right.
Right. Right.
Not
Well, you
surprising.
need to come back again. Come back when you have time at the top of the hour again, because I have a feeling we could talk a lot longer. And I love the fact that you've got an IT background. You can even speak more on the surveillance stuff.
Yeah, Vance does as well, right? You've got
right.
and we've had a few candidates on who've had IT backgrounds. Yeah, I mean, so that's what's great is when because oftentimes the thing to you is that, well, you really don't understand what it is, you know? And so when you have someone who's supporting Assange who has an IT background, or in Vance's case is also a veteran, right? I mean, you have all those ad hominem arguments against them are, invalid. So, but yeah, we're running up against the top of the hour here. So,
and the Justice Department is in cahoots with the White House to do these things. Aren't they supposed to be defending us?
Sorry, Vance, I missed that you're at IT as well and a veteran. I missed the IT part. But
So I would love to come back. I have a lot to say when it comes to these issues.
Great. Hey, we love it. We love it. Where can people find you at, Great Gabriel? How can people follow and support you?
Miss Kelly found me on Facebook. I'm on Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram. But just email me or just send me a message on Facebook, and I'll respond to it as early as I can. And thank you, by the way, Miss Kelly, for liking some of my videos. I saw it.
And Vance, maybe you and Matt can talk too as well about some of what you're dealing with the Board of Elections and all that, the signature stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And how do people follow and support you?
Cast me?
Yeah. Yes, you.
Yes. Castforcongress.com.
Okay.
Castforcongress.com. And that's FOR.
Daniel, we should let you speak for a moment at least.
I know.
Come on. So Daniel, tell. Oh wait, I do have. Be show this picture. So Daniel organized this. Hold on. Here it is. There we go. So where was this exactly?
This was right outside of Raleigh.
Okay.
But I got a number of billboards up. There were a few different times. It was like 9 total across the U.S. I mean, thanks to my friend Gray, who owns a bunch of billboards. I mean, he definitely gave me a good deal. And thanks to Ray McGovern, he and everybody who donated to the GoFundMe. But yeah, it was pretty great to get these up there. We had a number of different images at different times.
Right.
But yeah, that was fun.
So do you want to tell a little bit about what else you're doing or any of the other groups you work with where people can go? I know you do stuff with Assange Action DC.
Yes. Yeah. I would recommend that if anybody's looking to get involved, to reach out to DC Action for Assange. They're at Assange Action DC on Twitter, X, whatever. But I feel like they're doing some of the most important work right now. The Merrick Garland vigils, which I've been to a number of them outside of his house. They're doing actions outside the White House, disrupting hearings and anything that they can do to make noise for. And so yeah, I would recommend getting in touch with them. I also, worked with just Action for Assange, who, they'd hold the vigils for a really long time. That's kind of how I originally got involved in DC. April 11th just passed 5 years of Julian being in Belmarsh, which is insane. And this was the first year that I wasn't in DC. Every other year we had really large actions in DC, so it was a little weird to be at home for this one. But yeah, so Action for Assange, Misty Winston. Get in touch with her. There's great people throughout the country, and I could get you in touch with them. Depending on where you are in the country. But
do you know of any in Arizona where Vance is? And I'm just pulling this up. We need to remember Julian is in the cell this size, been in there 5 years. I just wanted to put that up there again. But do you know of any groups where Vance is? Tucson, right?
There's also Assange Defense. They have
everywhere.
Yeah, I recommend their website because they have contacts. There's a contact section. I'm not positive about Arizona, but yeah, we've been doing
Assange Defense probably is the best source. Okay,
yeah, they're great. And but yeah, 5 years now of trying to get people to pay attention to this and just how important it is. I mean, right now, again, there's the process is the punishment. There was a lot of like quiet times in the Assange case, but right now there's a lot happening to get people's attention. You know, the plea deal, Biden's comment, whatever you want to make of it, just the hearing and the assurances from the U.S. So yeah, definitely. And House Resolution 934. So yeah, look into that. Call your representatives. I can get you some postcards if you want. I'm gonna mail some right now, but yeah, there's a lot to do. Definitely.
I wondered if maybe candidates could get involved with the postcard or get other people involved in doing that as well.
Yeah.
But okay, we try to stick to the hour mark, so we will do that. Matt, do you have anything? You're muted.
Happy birthday, Kelly and Vance, and Daniel and I are both April babies as well. So Gabriel, not sure when your birthday was, but thanks to everyone for watching. Thanks to the candidates for running, but also for fighting for our First and Fourth Amendments.
And just keep talking, please. Talk to everyone. So we're going to go out with this is a video of a billboard truck that Randy Credico has been. This was in New York. That he put together and was out for, I don't know, weeks with this truck. And so I'm going to play that. And it includes a song, Waltzing Matilda, that is a song that actually Assange himself, if you want to hear old interviews and actually hear Julian, you can check out Randy's early interviews, 2016, 2017, and hear him in his own words. But he requested this song to be played on the radio show, so it has special meaning. But we'll go out with that, and thank you all for coming. And yeah, just keep talking. Thank you.
Now when I was a young man, I carried me pack, and I lived the free life on the Rover. From the Murray's green basin to the dusty outback, well, I waltzed my Matilda all over. Then in 1915, my country said, son, it's time you stop rambling, there's work to be done. So they gave me a tin hat and they gave me a gun, and they marched me away to the war. And the band played Waltzing Matilda as the ship pulled away from the quay. And amidst all the cheers, the flag waving and tears, we sailed off for Gallipoli. And how well I remember that terrible day, how our blood stained the sand and the water, and of how in that hell that they called Suvla Bay, we were butchered like lambs at the slaughter. Johnny Turk, he was waiting, he'd primed himself well. He showered us with bullets and he rained us with shell, and in 5 minutes flat he'd blown us all to hell. Nearly blew us right back to Australia. But the band played Waltzing Matilda. When we stopped to bury our slain, we buried ours, and the Turks buried theirs.
Master Crazy Horse, we have individuals going to the scene, looks like possibly picking up bodies and weapons.